We are going to do something on Greenland, whether they like it or not.
You know what their defense is? 2 dog sleds.
We need Greenland for national security.
Greenland.
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 Greenland. Greenland.
Greenland.
Imagine a place so cold that human blood can freeze within seconds. A land where temperatures drop to -50 degrees Celsius, where the sun disappears for months at a time, and where nearly 80% of the surface is buried beneath ice thicker than skyscrapers. Now imagine that same frozen land quietly transforming into one of the most powerful geopolitical pressure points on Earth. This is Greenland, a massive island near the North Pole that most people barely think about, yet today it sits at the center of a silent global power struggle. Why has Greenland suddenly captured the attention of the United States? Why did a sitting American president openly declare that Greenland must become part of the US, even if it requires force? And why are global powers watching this icy island so closely? The real reason goes far beyond minerals, oil, or even military security. It is so important that it could redefine global trade, military balance, and the future world order itself. Welcome to Global Map Stories. Greenland is the world's largest island, located near the North Pole. Almost 80% of its land is covered by a thick layer of ancient ice. In terms of total area, Greenland is larger than Saudi Arabia, Mexico, and Indonesia. Yet despite its enormous size, only about 57,000 people live here, mostly along the coastline, where the ice is thinner and survival is possible. Life in Greenland is brutal. A temperature of -30 degrees Celsius is considered normal. In the northern regions, -50 is a regular occurrence. Summer arrives briefly, almost like a visitor passing through. Even at its warmest, temperatures struggle to reach 10 degrees Celsius, and that too under direct sunlight. So how did a land of ice, isolation and silence become a hotspot for global tension? The answer lies in power. Former US President Donald Trump once stated openly that Greenland must become part of the United States by any means necessary, including military action if required. This wasn't a one-time comment. Trump repeatedly expressed his desire to acquire Greenland, alarming geopolitical experts around the world. Politically, Greenland is an autonomous region under the Kingdom of Denmark. Geographically, it belongs to the North American continent. Trump wanted it to become American territory, but Trump was not the first US leader to think this way. For over a century, the United States has viewed Greenland as a critical piece of its national security strategy. In 1867, the US purchased Alaska from Russia at an incredibly cheap price. Even at that time, American policymakers wanted dominance over the Arctic region. Back then, the US also explored the idea of buying Greenland and Iceland, but Congress dismissed the proposal as a joke. In 1910, President William Howard Taft tried again, unsuccessfully. The real turning point came during World War II, when Nazi Germany occupied Denmark. To prevent German forces from establishing bases in Greenland, the United States stepped in and took responsibility for Greenland's security. After the war in 1946, President Harry Truman offered Denmark millions of dollars in gold in exchange for Greenland. Denmark refused once again but allowed the US to establish military bases on the island. This history makes one thing clear. Trump's approach may have been aggressive, but the American interest in Greenland is nothing new. So why did Trump push so hard? One major reason is national security. Greenland sits almost exactly between the United States and Russia. From a military perspective, whoever controls Greenland gains a massive strategic advantage over the entire Arctic region. The US already has a strong military presence there. At Thule Air Base, nearly 10,000 American personnel are stationed even today. So where is the threat? The problem is political uncertainty. Greenland belongs to Denmark, but many Greenlanders want full independence. Denmark itself is not a major military power and spends nearly half of its budget supporting Greenland. Despite this, Greenland has no army of its own. Trump feared that if Greenland became independent, it might demand the removal of US military bases or drastically increase the cost of keeping them. That uncertainty alone makes Washington uncomfortable. Another issue is defense capability. Greenland is protected by Danish defense forces, which Trump openly mocked, saying they could hardly protect Greenland with 2 dogs and a sled. While his tone was controversial, the concern about weak defense remains real. However, many around the world doubt America's intentions because history raises serious questions. The US invaded Iraq over weapons of mass destruction that were never found. In 1964, America entered the Vietnam War based on an attack in the Gulf of Tonkin that later turned out to be false. In 2011, Libya was attacked under the claim of preventing genocide, while many experts believe the real motive was stopping Muammar Gaddafi from creating a gold-backed currency that threatened the US dollar. Given this history, critics believe Greenland is not just about security, it's about control. Greenland is one of the world's richest untapped sources of rare earth elements. These minerals are essential for future technology, so important they are often called the oxygen of modern innovation. Beneath Greenland's 2-kilometer thick ice layer lie enormous reserves of neodymium used in electric vehicles and wind turbines. Gallium, critical for AI chips and radar systems. Uranium, vital for nuclear energy. Silicon, essential for semiconductors and solar panels. Currently, China controls nearly 90% of the global supply of rare earth minerals. In recent years, China has restricted exports, putting pressure on Western economies, but in the future, power will belong to those who control these minerals. Greenland could break China's monopoly, and America wants that leverage. Oil adds another layer to the story. Surveys suggest that northeast Greenland alone may hold over 31 billion barrels of oil, and that may only be the beginning. But there's more. The world's internet and communication systems rely on underwater cables running across oceans, and many of the cables connecting Europe and North America pass near Greenland. Russian ghost vessels have frequently been spotted near these cables. The fear is simple. In a conflict, cutting these cables could cripple communication between continents. If Greenland is under American control, Washington believes these vital connections would be far more secure. Greenland is also home to one of the most critical early warning systems on Earth. At Thule space base, an upgraded early warning radar can detect Russian intercontinental ballistic missiles moments after launch. Any missile fired toward the US would pass over Greenland, not the Pacific or Atlantic. So without firm control over Greenland, America's mainland security is at risk. And then comes the most overlooked factor of all, a new global trade route. For centuries, humans searched for faster ways to connect Europe and Asia. The Suez and Panama canals changed world trade forever, but the Arctic Ocean was always sealed by ice. Now, due to global warming, that ice is melting, so a new route, the Northwest Passage, is slowly opening. A cargo ship traveling from China to London could cut nearly 9,000 kilometers by using this Arctic route. That means billions of dollars saved in fuel and 10 to 15 days shaved off each journey. Whoever controls this route will become the gatekeeper of global trade. Russia already dominates much of the Arctic coastline and wants to tax ships passing through. And on the other hand, China plans to build a polar Silk Road. The United States fears being left behind. Greenland sits at the entrance of this future maritime highway. If America controls Greenland, it controls the toll gate of the world's next trade revolution. But this comes with serious risks. Denmark is a NATO member, and if the US attempts to seize Greenland by force, it could tear NATO apart. An alliance built on mutual defense could collapse from within, so experts warn that if Greenland falls under US control, global politics could enter a dangerous new era. America would become the undisputed Arctic superpower. Trust between Europe and the US would shatter. China's dominance over critical minerals would be threatened, and Greenland's fragile ecosystem could be permanently damaged. After this, its people could lose centuries of culture and autonomy. As Arctic ice melts, new opportunities emerge, but so do new dangers. Greenland's fate may decide whether the future is shaped by cooperation or by conflict. What happens next could define the next 100 years of human history. Will Greenland become a symbol of peace or the first spark of a new world war? Only time will tell. This was Global Map Stories. If you found this story insightful, don't forget to like, share, and leave your thoughts in the comments. We'll meet again in the next deep dive into the maps that shape our world.